Right, into our top story and a very, very good morning to you if you've just tuned in. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa is among the leaders of political parties across the globe who have sent congratulatory messages on the successful opening of the 20th National Congress of the Communist Party of China, which kicked off in Beijing yesterday. Chinese President Xi Jinping opened the Congress, calling for an acceleration in building of a world-class military while touting the fight against COVID-19. The 69-year-old leader is widely expected to win a third leadership term at the conclusion of the week-long Congress. Let's cross over live now to our correspondent in Beijing, Patrick Fock. Patrick, a very good morning to you. So the president focused heavily on security. What did he have to say on relations, particularly with Taiwan?
Yeah, well, certainly Taiwan is one of the key things that was picked up on yesterday, and it was certainly part of the focus of his opening address at the Great Hall of the People before the 2,296 participating delegates that were there. He said that China would never renounce the use of force against the self-ruled island, which was really an indication of China making the point that it is still absolutely determined to resolve the Taiwan issue. And he also talked about foreign interference in Taiwan and said that the Taiwan issue was really a matter for the Chinese people to decide. So I think moving forward, what that means is that there's not going to be any let-up in terms of pressuring Taiwan to try and bring it back into the fold. As we know, China views Taiwan as a breakaway region that one day needs to be reunited with the motherland.
Let's talk a little bit now about the country's COVID-19 lockdown strategy. Is it expected to affect China's next economic stats?
Yeah, well, you know, this is something that people all across the country, all around the world, are really looking out for clues as to whether or not there's going to be any loosening up on the zero COVID policy. But I mean, the way President Xi Jinping touted China's handling of COVID-19 and the zero COVID policy doesn't really suggest that there is going to be any significant change anytime soon. We heard previously, before the event began, also a spokesperson for Congress also talking about how China's approach was the right move, and in terms of the economy, it had prevented a huge loss of lives and huge numbers of infections as well. So I think a lot of people would have been disappointed to not get any sort of clear indication of any mapping out of the current situation, and that's certainly reflected today in markets across Asia. They've really been struggling at the start of this week, and that's partly down to that as well.
Lots to get through, Patrick, but I just want to ask you as well about the Chinese president's mention. Did he at all mention any of China's domestic issues, such as unemployment and the real estate market, which are really two big issues facing the country?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we know right now that China is facing some very serious economic headwinds. And, you know, most of that really is linked to President Xi's insistence with sticking to the zero COVID policy. There was talk of how to shore up growth, and China's also facing some long-term problems. You talked about issues related to the property sector. Those are very big problems that the country is faced with right now. There's a loss of confidence in the real estate sector linked to indebted property developers. But one of the other things he talked about as well is trying to address China's birth rate problem. There's a lowering number of births. That's a problem that the country's been grappling for some time now, and he talked about efforts to try and get people to have more children, which is really a key issue that needs to be dealt with. But, you know, nothing so far that the party has tried to do has had any positive effect in that regard. And, you know, in a sense, that goes back to COVID-19 as well. Currently, with these sorts of lockdowns and economic uncertainties for people don't want to be having children.
Yeah, all right. So finally, Patrick, as I let you go, I mean, what is expected to be discussed at the Chinese Communist Party Congress in the coming 2 days? I suppose the big things topping the agenda.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, over the next week, really, things are going to be taking place behind closed doors. And really, this is the focus of Congress. It's the leadership reshuffle. And we are expecting a big shake-up at the top of Chinese politics, with the exception of the top job, because, of course, President Xi Jinping is expected to secure a third term, an unprecedented third term, after scrapping presidential term limits in 2018. And so that is all but certain that President Xi will remain at the top. Most analysts expect that the rest of the leadership will be made up of Xi loyalists, and there are potential scenarios where we could see significant changes, in particular to the Politburo Standing Committee. That's the top echelon of the Chinese government. Right now there are 7 members. We're looking at to see what changes there are going to be in that Standing Committee, and who the personalities are going to be as well, because that's going to have a big impact on the future direction of this country.
All right, we'll leave it there. Patrick, thank you. Thanks very much for talking to us here on the programme, giving us an understanding of what is happening during this particular National Congress of the Communist Party of China. It's the opening of it, and Patrick coming to us from Beijing.